Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Thummala and my credentials are I have 8 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations, internal security and in-depth analysis of Hindu editorials and articles. This video is in regards to how to crack prelims 2020. But prior to that, you have a notification in regards to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And once you get subscribed to that, which is India's largest learning platform, you will get access unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. And you also have the various other privileges, that is daily live classes. You'll also have the live test and quizzes. You have the structured courses. You also have the unlimited access from your mobile or from your laptop. And these are all the top educators who are in the Unacademy, which you can see on your screen. And even this page, you have the top educators of the Unacademy. And the courses for the UPSC Let's Crack CSE are the polity, geography, science and technology, and various other courses, which along with the current affairs, you have various other courses on the screen. Along with this, you have the governance, internal security, CSAT paper, and also you have the interview preparation. So these are all the courses in the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English channel. And in regards to the UPSC CSE subscription, you have the 12-month subscription and also the 24-month subscription. 12-month subscription is rupees 40,000 and then 24-month subscription is rupees 48,000. And it's always recommended to go ahead with subscribing for the 12 months, wherein the original price is 48,000, and you can subscribe by using my code SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and you will get 10% discount on the subscription for the 24 months, and after the discount, that is the discounted amount would be 43,200. So there is a benefit, you have an advantage while you are subscribing for 24 months, because you will be paying the amount only for 13 months. You will be paying for only 13 months, but you would be subscribing for 24 months. So this is a benefit what you have, and you can avail this benefit, take the maximum benefit out of it, and then you can use my code while subscribing, that is SBT10, so that you need not pay even 48,000, but the discounted price would be 43,200. And this video is in regards to the in-depth analysis of editorials and articles of the Hindu newspaper, wherein it is imperative for you as a civil servant aspirant to have a better or a wide analysis of editorials and articles, because that is what will make you an aspirant with a very confidence before you get into the examination hall. So it will be possible that you will be able to analyze, emphasize, and also highlight the keywords in the editorials and articles, which will be useful for your prelims 2020 as well as mains 2020, and also you will be well versed, you will be more equipped even for the prelims 2021. So before I get into the topics to be discussed for today in regards to the editorials and articles, I would say hi to everyone who have joined. Hi, and then good evening to everyone. Okay, Nikita Kumari says good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Extremely sorry, not good evening, good afternoon. And good afternoon to everyone. So I would start this session. That is, Malvika Sajivan has also joined. Hi, sir. Hi, Malvika. Good afternoon. Then I would get into the topics to be discussed today is India and Gulf. Esther Vathana has also joined. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Esther, very good afternoon to you. Esther, Kunal Mangraj also has joined. Hi, sir. Hi, good afternoon to you, Kunal. Esther, is it what you say the first class today? My class or my course, my video? Esther Vathana. Is it first class? So we will be discussing about India and Gulf. Yes, sir. Okay, very good. So I would be taking the class, or my session would be in regards to the in-depth analysis of editorials and articles, which will be very, very imperative and which will be useful for your prelims and also mains point of view. It would be in regards to an macro level approach for the civil services examination, which will really fetch you a high level of confidence throughout your preparation. And the second topic, Kunal also says good afternoon. Kunal, good afternoon. Indian economy, political detention, and decentralization of power. These were the two topics wherein we could not discuss yesterday: political detention and decentralization of power. I'll try to make sure that I will also try go ahead with it, covering the political detention and also decentralization of power, along with the India Gulf and then Indian economy. Now I'll get into the topic, that is today's article, which talks about double whammy. The heading of the article is double whammy for Indian Gulf economic types. So, can anyone say that what do you mean by whammy? WHAMMY? I would definitely explain you, but any kind of produce understanding when it says whammy, because it says double whammy. So this article is in regards to the India and then the Gulf countries. So we will look at how the Gulf countries, or within the Gulf countries, what was the issue, what has really caused panic, because it says the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. It says the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So how was the impact on the COVID-19 of the COVID-19 pandemic onto the Gulf countries, and also making it very clear that how the impact was in any of the particular country in the Gulf country of the Gulf countries, and how the relation between India and Gulf, and then what could be the economic ties between India and Gulf, and the impact of the slash in oil prices in the Gulf area, or in the Gulf area, that would impact the Indian economy. So we will look at it a wider perspective, which will be very, very useful for analytical point of view. So it is this country, that is Iran, which was very badly hit because of the COVID-19. So we all know that as China was the first country wherein the virus has been the epicenter, and after that it was Southeast Asia, and then Asia, and then West Asia. So while the COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2 was spreading from China to Southeast Asia, and then to Asia, and then West Asia, the country which was maximum hit in the West Asia was Iran. The reason why Iran was maximum hit in regards to the infected persons increasing and also the death cases is because Iran did not take the constructive measures or the stricter measures wherein it was supposed to take to contain the virus of the SARS-CoV-2. Please do understand, Iran did not take the measures which it was supposed to implement it, because it has taken it at a very lighter sense. So that has caused Iran a tear. That means the Iran has experienced many infected cases, especially in the West Asian countries. It was Iran which has been badly hit because of the infected cases, and also in regards to the death cases, that is mortality rates, it was very high. So it was because of the COVID-19. So we will look at, was there any reason that the COVID-19 was the one which has hit badly Iran, and because of the COVID-19 its health infrastructure has been badly hit, or Iran has experienced the health crisis, and it is also reeling under economic crisis. So Iran, because of the COVID-19, as it did not take the constructive measures, it is experiencing the health crisis. Along with the health crisis, it is also experiencing economic crisis. But if you look at the second part of it, that is the economic crisis is being experienced by Iran not only from the time of COVID-19 pandemic, but it was prior to the COVID-19. Economic crisis was prior to the COVID-19, when US has gone ahead with imposing the economic sanctions on Iran after 2018 when US President Donald Trump has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. I've explained this last class. So when US has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, and then it has imposed the economic sanctions on Iran. So since 2018, Iran is reeling under economic crisis, and then now the one which is being badly hit to Iran, the country, is because of the COVID-19. That is why the author says it is a double whammy. That is why the author says it is a double whammy. Whammy in the sense blow. What is whammy? Blow. BLOW. So it's a double blow to Iran as such. We will discuss. It's a double blow to what is a almost the Gulf countries. But prior to that Gulf countries, we will go to the first Iran, which is badly hit amongst the West Asian countries. So the double blow or the double whammy has been especially felt by the Iran, and this is the one which has been badly hit, and then we have seen that it is because of the COVID-19 pandemic one, and the other one is in regards to the oil price meltdown. So it's not only double whammy, but it has been three times it has been badly hit. One is the US economic sanctions on Iran, the other one is in regards to the COVID-19, and the third one is in regards to the oil price meltdown. So the prices of the crude oil prices have been slashed, has been down in the global market, and that is also causing a lot of concern to the Iran. As such, Iran is facing lot of economic crisis. It is reeling under the economic crisis. So if you look at one third of the world's population, if you look at the one third of the world's population is under the pandemic situation. Because of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic situation, it is under lockdown. Because it is under lockdown, there is not much of trade which is happening between the countries. When there is not much of trade happening between the countries, that means the transport has been almost to a standstill. When the transport is almost to a standstill, that means the consumption of oil has come down. Please do understand. That means the curbing or the consumption of hydrocarbons or the oil has come down. Because the consumption of the hydrocarbons or the oil has come down globally, so that has been hit directly onto the Gulf countries' economies. Please do understand. The way we are linking the COVID-19 pandemic versus the Gulf countries' economy. So what is the medium here? How the Gulf countries' economy has been badly hit? Because of the not much of demand, or else the demand has been slashed. Demand has come down because of the COVID-19, or there is no much of trade which is happening across the world. Well, that is one of the reason. And we will look at how India have the relations with the 8 Gulf countries, because the Gulf countries or the Gulf economies are reeling under pressure, that is crisis. So what kind of impact will happen onto the India? What kind of impact onto the bilateral relations or bilateral economic ties relations will impact between India and the Gulf countries? Not only that, again, what kind of impact would be onto the India's economy also we will look at. So it is onto the situation of impact on bilateral economic ties. We have to focus on now the India's relations, that is in regards to bilateral relations, bilateral economic ties, and also the impact on the India's economy because of the US sanctions on Iran, or else because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then the oil price meltdown. What is the impact on the India's economy is the one which we will discuss now. And when we look at this, the crude oil prices, or else the reason how the crude oil prices have come down, we will look at the history of the how the crude oil prices have come down. As per the Goldman Sachs report, it is very clearly stated, or it was published on March 30, that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the entire global crude consumption has come down, or it has lowered. That is, the world crude consumption has come down to 28 billion barrels per day. BPD in the sense barrel per day. Because of the COVID-19, as per the Goldman Sachs report, which was published on March 30, the global or world crude oil consumption has been come down to 28 million barrel per day. You also have this oil glut began depressing the price. So what do you mean by this glut? GLUT. Glut means excess of supply. Glut means excess of supply. So the consequent, that means added to the pandemic, the oil supply is also high. First is the demand is low. Please do understand here. The demand is low. Demand is low, but the other side of it is the supply is high. So how does it impact on the price when the demand is low and the supply is high? Definitely it will impact on the prices. It will impact the prices. So that is what is important, that the demand has come down, the supply is high, and because of that the prices have been slashed down. Now we will look at when the demand is low, then definitely the supply has to be reduced, and the one who is responsible to cut the supplies or the production of the oil is from the OPEC countries, that is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, is the one which has to make sure that it has to control the supply of the prices. It has to control the supply of the prices. But what has happened was, when the OPEC has brought to the notice of the OPEC plus countries that because of the COVID-19 the demand is low, because of the demand is low, let's cut down the supply of production. When the OPEC has said this, the two countries did not abide by the, or did not listen to what the OPEC has said to cut down the supply of production, that is supply of crude oil production. Which are the two countries? It is Saudi Arabia and Russia. We did not accept to the cut in the prices, cut in the production of the crude oil prices. So that has again added to the prices to slash further down, and this has made the price to reduce by 55% of a 18-year low on March 30. And the earlier or the previous instance wherein the prices were very down was in the at the time when there was Kuwait war, or the Kuwait and Iraq war, when the war was taking place. So then the crude oil prices have slashed down, and the second time, that is now, the crude oil prices have slashed down, and that is what is making an impact onto the oil prices. Now we will look at what would be the impact of the slashing crude oil prices on the Gulf countries. Before we get into the impact on the Indian economy, we will look at the slash in crude oil prices and its impact on Gulf countries. So, as per the economic outlook, the Saudi Arabia will be badly hit among the two countries which are continuously going ahead with the production of the crude oil prices. Which are the two countries which are not abiding by the OPEC countries to cut down the production of oil? It is Saudi Arabia and Russia. But Saudi Arabia will definitely face an economic crisis, because we have seen the Saudi Arabia's fiscal deficit is expected to cross 8% in 2020. That means because of the production is high, they are not getting the amount of profits wherein they have to get it, that is the OPEC countries, when they sell the crude oil prices. Thereby there is lot of impact onto the GDP of the Saudi Arabia. And then, as we know, that fiscal deficit means it is an expenditure over the revenue. So what is the expenditure as of now in regards to the in the 2020 for Saudi Arabia? It has crossed, or it will cross to 8% in 2020. And we in India, what is the fiscal deficit target in India to the GDP? It is 3.2 to 3.5 percentage. It is 3.2 to 3.5 percentage. I will just add one point here, comparing it with the Saudi Arabia's fiscal deficit and India's fiscal deficit. India, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, India is pumping more of money into the market or for the COVID-19 emergency fund, or else finance ministry pumping money into the system, that is with the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts, and also through the Ayushman Bharat Arogya Pradhan Mantri Arogya Yojana, and also the RBI pumping money into the banking system. So if everything is going on, India is worried about by these liquidity measures. India is worried about the fiscal deficit, wherein its target is 3.2 to 3.5 percentage. Now you can estimate the fiscal deficit of Saudi Arabia, if it is expected to cross 8% in 2020, what could be the scenario? That means the expenditure would be very high compared to the revenue of Saudi Arabia. So that is very important. The Saudi Arabia has to focus on the cut in oil production, and that is the major impact of the slash of the crude oil prices on the Gulf countries, especially on the Saudi Arabia. We did discuss about the impact of COVID-19 and the impact of US economic sanctions on Iran. Please do understand. On Iran here in regards to the Gulf countries. Fine. Now we are talking about the excess production, because of more of production in the crude oil, that would impact on the Gulf countries, especially on the Saudi Arabia's economy. And because of the excess of production, the global economy, as we know that it is almost at the recession stage. So we expect that it will not further fall down to economic depression, and that is the impact, that it is almost having a recession and it has to stop there. And the other impact is it is on the global trade, global tourism, and then the global hospitality sectors. Because of this, on these sectors and impact because of the excess of oil production, the Dubai's economy, that is Saudi Arabia's Dubai's economy, is also reeling under pressure, and then it will take longer time to save or revive the economy of the Gulf countries itself. And the pandemic has already made this year, because you have the Hajj congregation and also you have the Dubai Expo. So these are the one wherein there are lots of service sector, that is hospitality sector, trade, tourism, which always, it increases because of the Hajj and Dubai Expo. But because these two occasions or these two congregations may not take place, it's doubtful because of the COVID-19, and that further will again impact the Gulf countries economy. Now you have seen the impact on the Gulf countries. Now I will move further on to the India's economic ties with the Gulf states. Now we will get closer to the economy of India, if it is affected by the slash in crude oil prices in the Gulf countries. And we know that India is the world's third largest importer of crude from the Gulf countries, because India imports 80% of its consumption of crude and 20% is within, that is domestically. So when India is the world's third largest importer of crude, definitely it's a positive sign that because of the slash in crude oil prices internationally, it will help its current account. That means it will have more of revenue with the government. Please to understand here, the point or the impact on the Indian economy is positive because of the cut in or slash in crude oil prices. Why? Because that will help the current account to increase, the revenue to increase. Can anyone say that do you have any negative impact, or only we have the positive impact because of the slash in oil prices? Can anyone please let me know? Is there only a positive impact because it is helping our current account, that is the revenue? Do you have any kind of impact, negative impact or only positive impact? If it is positive, just key in positive. If it is negative, please key in negative, so that I'll go ahead with the further more detailed explanation how it is positive and how it is negative, or both. Madhu, Kunal, Esther, Malvika, Nikita, are you all live? Okay, both. Okay, Madhu says both. Okay, fine. Now I'll get back to the discussion. And India has a good bilateral economic ties with the Gulf countries. Because of the good bilateral economic ties, India has gone ahead with the having the trade between both the India, its negative impact also. So Nikita says yes, it is negative. I will also explain about the negative point of it. India Gulf trade, that is the trade between both the countries in regards to economy, is 162 billion US dollar, which is almost a fifth of India's global trade. That means whatever India has the global trade with various other countries, when you compare the trade India and Gulf trade, it stands at 162 billion US dollar. And this trade between India and Gulf, please do understand, keep it in mind in regards to the prelims 2020. In regards to the prelims 2020, Esther says mostly positive but has few negatives. Very good, very good. We will look at both of them. And as I said that mostly India depends on the crude oil and natural gases imports, and we have 75 billion of worth of going ahead with it, and 65% of India's total requirement is from the imports itself. And what is the best or what is the first benefit for India is revenue. We were talking about what kind of revenue. That means when I said that it is almost 80 percentage, here it says 65 percentage of the India's total requirement, but almost close to 80 percentage of the Indian crude oil. Indian crude oil, we are dependent on imports. So when we are dependent on import, definitely we have to again, I mean, we are buying it and we have to sell, we have to pay for it. So when we are paying, that means our import bill on crude oil. Please do understand this key phrase: import bill on crude oil. Import bill on crude oil has come down. Import bill on crude oil, that means the billing on the crude oil has come down. So definitely when it has come down, we are paying less to the Gulf countries while purchasing the crude oil. So that is a positive, that is a positive one. Fine. And the other one is positive from India's point of view. You have the Indian expatriates. Expatriates means the Indians who are staying, or immigrants or Indians who are in the Gulf states. And the number of the Indian expatriates or immigrants or Indian diaspora who are in the Gulf countries, the Gulf states, is about 9 million. It's a very big count. It's a 9 million. And what happens, or what do these people do is, they definitely they work there, they have the jobs, they have the incomes, they have the salary whatever they have the savings. When they have the savings, most of the savings, I say most of the savings are being again sent back to their respective families in India. Please do understand, most of the savings are sent back to their respective families in India. When they are sending back to India, definitely it is back to the government of India. So what is that remit? So you call that which is coming back to India, that money is called as the remittances. Please do understand, remittances, REMITTANCE, remittance. So that is nearly 40 billion which is coming back home. So that is also a positive sign. That is also a positive sign for India, because of the what you say cut in oil prices. One thing is our economy, I mean, sorry, our revenue will increase, our import bills will reduce. Revenue will increase because the imports bills are reducing, and because of Indian expatriates who are 9 millions who are working in US will definitely send back the money, that is the savings, to India in the form of remittances, and that is 40 billion US dollars. So that is also coming back, which is also good, which is also positive. Now we will look at the negative. What is the negative side of it is, or the challenge to India, the negative side of it is, because of the COVID-19, because of the slash in crude oil prices in the oil refineries or in the normal market, there would not be any fresh recruitment, or the fresh recruitments will be stopped. Once it is stopped, that means there is no employment. When there is no employment, there are no salaries, or at least the recruitment is stalled or it is lowered. If it is not totally completely, what is a stop. And once this happens, the government, that is the Gulf countries government, raises the tax, because even they want money, so they will raise the tax from the citizens and expatriates, or the Indians who are also part of the people there, or the citizens who are supposed to pay the taxes. So when they pay the taxes there, definitely their savings reduces. When their savings reduces, again the money or the remittances which they send back to their respective families in India will also be reduced. When it is reduced, that means the contribution to the India's economy or to the foreign exchange reserves is also reduced. So that means the economy of India also reduced. So that is first negative point. That is the first negative point wherein India will face. And the second one is, because once there are recruitment stopped or the salaries are reduced because of the COVID-19 and slash in crude oil prices, what will happen is these the wage deprived Indians who were working there, but now because of no jobs, they may prefer to come back to India. If they come back to India, is there any problem? Definitely there will be a problem. What is the problem? The first and foremost problem is that India has to go ahead with the logistical arrangement, that is in regards to transporting the 9 million, or if not totally, millions of expatriates who would wish to come back to India. That is not at all the problem. I mean, that is not the only problem, negative point. The other challenge is that India has to, it is a responsibility of India to resettle, put them under resettlement, settle them, not only to resettle but also to employ them. So please do understand the consequences on the Indian economy, on the Indian government, and also onto the Indians providing, or Indian government providing them the income or the wages or the salary or the settlement itself. So it will be a big task onto the Indian government. And then we will look at the measures, as we have seen the impact on the economic ties, that is in regards to the economy, that is on the remittances, and then loss of jobs there, and then again impacting India, that is India has to bring back all the people here and then protect them, keep them in the quarantine camps, keep them for 14 days, and then go ahead with the testing, treatment, and then again health infrastructure has to be maintained. Along with that, again we have to provide the employment for them. So it is all challenges. Now we will look at the measures. So India will definitely should look at some contingency measures or plans which are very important at this time. That is, they have to find out, or they have to look at the other individual countries. Please do understand that just not focusing on the Gulf countries, because 9 millions are the expatriates wherein they bring home the remittances. Rather than that, now India has to focus on the other individual countries, so that we will have this Indian expatriates, that is the Indian diaspora, getting into the various countries. Okay, now at this moment, because of the COVID-19, we cannot go ahead with the traveling, that is for sure. But once it settles down, at least after 4 to 6 months, the COVID-19. So if the prices continues, I mean the slash in prices and the production continues, then they have to make sure that they have to find out the other countries, that is other third countries wherein the migration are accepted, the third countries wherein the migrations are accepted. And then India has to focus on the agriculture in those countries, that is sending, or else the migrants going there and then working in the agriculture, education, and then skilling, so that the economic activities will further benefit India, and they also have to get into the jobs in the Arabian Sea coast, which will have a better opportunity in the Indian Gulf Cooperation Council Free Trade Area. So we can try to take the help of the India Gulf Cooperation Council Free Trade Area, that is FTA, that is IGCC, India Gulf Cooperation Council Free Trade Area. By that, working or having employment in the Arabian Sea coast, getting into the third world countries or the countries which access migrants, and then working in the agriculture sector, education sector and skilling sector, so that immediately as this kind of situation arises and now the remittances have come down, to overcome that, India also should go ahead with searching in or to find out alternative or different uh, sectors wherein Indian diaspora would be going and working in various other sectors like healthcare, and in pharmaceutical research and production, and in petrochemical complexes, and also in regards to the building infrastructure. So not just getting into Gulf countries and then working in the oil rigs, or else being part of the hydrocarbon industry, or else the petroleum industry. No, we have to find out or come out with the contingency plan. This is very very important for the prelims analytical point of view, and also in regards to the mains point of view, because this is a question again which can be asked in regards to the international relations on the topic called as India's diaspora. Please do understand why I am trying to explain you at length. This is a probable question, could be a probable question in the prelims and also mains. While you are focusing, it is on the mains paper 2 in international relations, and the subtopic for in the international relations is Indian diaspora. Please do understand Indian diaspora and its contribution to India's economy. India's diaspora and its contribution to India's economy. So you can take this example of COVID-19 slashing crude oil prices, which is impacting the remittances and also which would impact the country to provide employment when they all come back to India. So a new contingency plan, this is very very crucial. It's a keyword, key phrase wherein you need to identify and then work on it for prelims 2020 and mains 2020. Contingency plan for Indian diaspora. So we have seen all this, that is in the healthcare sector, pharmaceuticals, because India is very good at pharmaceuticals, please do understand. And then also we have a lot of diaspora working in petrochemicals, and then in regards to infrastructure also. So now we will look at the other one, the second article which talks about India's or Indian economy. So it is also on the backdrop of the COVID-19, the pandemic, and because of the national lockdown, as the national lockdown is accepted by each and everyone voluntarily, trying to maintain the social distancing so that we are all together to break the transmission of the coronavirus, and this is also scientifically and politically accepted across various political spectrum, irrespective of the ruling party or else the opposition political parties. Everyone across the country in various states, various political parties have accepted this, but definitely it is having an impact. The COVID-19 is having its impact on the health, and also in regards to the, it has a dramatic slowdown in economic activity also. So what is that extraordinary action we have to take, or what is that important we have to look at this kind of slash in the economy, Indian economy, because of the national lockdown, which is the right at this moment, which is accepted scientifically and politically, but we have to go ahead with some kind of measures. And now, rather than measures, we will look at how various sectors have been affected, and the authors here in this article have taken into what methodology into practice, emphasizing or coming up with a report that which sectors have been impacted, how much of percentage, and what is the amount in lakhs or crores of rupees which is been affected, which sector is been affected, how much percentage of unemployment ratio is happening, and what methodology is being taken up, is all explained by the authors here. We will look at it, and this is also important again from prelims point of view, prelims 2020 in economy. Please do understand. So there is a methodology which has been taken up and is used here, and the economist Vasily Leontief has first elaborated on quantitative response. Please do understand this keyword or the key phrase, which will be important for the prelims 2020 and also for mains 2020. And the word here is qualitative response. Why it is important is because what kind of response we should have, not quantity response. It has to be qualitative response, and that response is been actually taken or using the method called as input output models. Please do understand. So qualitative response, why, which was first elaborated by economist, is also a Nobel economist Vasily Leontief has come up with the methodology called as quantitative response based on the technique of input output models. Now we will look at it. So input output model provides what? It provides detailed sector wise information, and this is important when we are always looking at the qualitative measures. It is not India which wants quantitative measures. At this moment, to protect the migrant workers, to protect the unemployed or the daily wages who are unemployed, what is important is qualitative measures. And with the input output model, please do understand, with this model, that is input output model, you have, or this model provides a detailed sector wise information, wherein once the government has the detailed sector wise information of which sector is badly hit, which sector is averagely hit, which sector is leastly hit, so definitely based on that the allocation of funds to those sectors, and those sectors wherein the unemployment ratio is high, the government can provide employment, or else can go ahead with pumping money to the daily wages. And this information is in regards to the output and consumption. So you have a detailed sector wise information, and the detailed sector wise information is again specific in regards to the consumption and output. Please do understand, this is very important in regards to economic terms. Madhu, I suppose you are listening to me. Everyone, Nikita, Madhu, Kunal, Esther, Malvika, I suppose you are all listening to me, because it might feel it is a dry subject or dry topic. No, it is the most important and more reliable topic for you all, for prelims point of view and mains point of view, because nothing is a dry topic for UPSC. Nothing is a dry topic for UPSC. Everything is wet, and you'll also be wet. Okay, fine. So this is the input output model, wherein it focuses or provides the detailed sector wise information in regards to the consumption, in regards to the output of all these sectors. And there is definitely again not only detailed sector wise differently, but also it is having interlinkages between the sectors, because when you look at, always there will be an impact from one sector to the other sectors. That is what you as a civil servant aspirant, as a mains point of view, have to focus. Not just focusing on the manufacturing sector and saying that, oh, manufacturing sector has come down drastically, so it doesn't impact the other sectors. No, it will impact the other sectors also. Probably the service sector, how it impacts, or how it impacts the primary sector, or how it impacts the tertiary sector. That is what you need to focus on it. So you have the core sectors, 8 core sectors, and what are the core sectors, which sector is hit, and how the impact, that is the cascading effect. Please do understand, the cascading effect of one sector economically would impact on the other sector is the one which you need to focus as a civil servant aspirant, not just micro level but at the macro level approach. And then it gives the total sum of, because it is detailed sector wise and also different sectors consumption and output, not only different but also interlinking the sectors, not only interlinking sector but it comes up with the sum total of everything taking into consideration of the wages, the profits, the savings and the expenditure in each sector. Please do understand, it is a very superb what is a model, superb model and superb information for you all for prelims and also mains. Interlinking, taking into total control a total sum of a total, that is the wages it takes into consideration, profits, savings, expenditure in each sector, and in each section of final consumers. So pretty it is. See, final consumer, that is it gets down to the each and every end consumer, that is the household, each and every end consumer, that is the household. So that is what it is in regards to the input output model. Why did I explain is, probably there could be a question in the prelims based on this economic impact because of the COVID-19, and there could be a probable question on the model, one of the model. Which model is that? That is the, look here, quantitative response. On the quantitative response by the economist Vasily Leontief, quantitative response, and then you would have the model and statement 1 2 3 4, which among the following statements are not part of the input output model elaborated or suggested by the economist Vasily Leontief, is the question in the prelims. Think so, then you have a, what do you say, solid 2.5 marks in your kitty for prelims. And the key advantage of the input output model is it goes ahead with the calculation of the impact of any change in the any sector. As we discussed that it is interlinkages. If there is any kind of link or change or impact, positive or negative, on one sector, it will show the result or the cascading effect on the other sector. So that is the greatness or the advantage of this. And now we will look at the impact of various sectors because of the COVID-19. Now we are coming out of the IO model, that is input output model. We have moved out. Now please come out of that IO model, and now we will look at the impact of COVID-19 or pandemic on various sectors in India. Please do understand, in India. And this is the readings, that is in regards to the scenario it is taken, then average number of working days lost. Please do understand this, average number of working days lost because of the national lockdown, and because of the national lockdown so many number of days has been lost. So what is the loss of GDP in lakh crores? Please do look at the table, and what will have its impact on the GDP in regards to the percentage, So if you can try to understand this table, you will have a clear understanding about the entire analytical point of view. So the first scenario is, I will not go here, I'll just focus on the, please focus on the table, please focus on the table. The first scenario we will look at, wherein the first scenario, this is based on the two authors. Please do understand, this is based on these two authors, these two experts who have put in their report by this tabular format, and this will really help you as a civil servant aspirant. That is why it says a time for extraordinary action. So in the first scenario, if the because of the national lockdown, if the working days, loss of the working days is 13 days, if it is 13 days, so what will be the loss of GDP in lakh crores? That will be 15 lakh rupees or 15 lakh crore of rupees would be lost to the GDP or the economy itself. So first scenario is just 13 days of work if it is lost. Just average number of working days if it is lost is 13 days, 15 lakh crores rupees of the loss to GDP, that will constitute to 7% of the GDP. And the second scenario is if the working days is lost because of the national lockdown, 27 working days, then 29 lakh crores of rupees loss would be for the GDP nation. And then if it is in regards to the percentage, it is 13% of the GDP. So it is very tough, 13% is very tough, because we have looked at the fiscal deficit of Saudi Arabia 8%. Now it is 13% of the loss to the GDP. If we are taking a third scenario as per the experts, that is the authors of the article, and if the 47 days of the working days are lost because of the national lockdown, so the country will experience 51 lakh crores of rupees, and that will constitute in regards to the percentage 23% loss of GDP. And the fourth scenario is that if the nation is losing because of the national lockdown 67 days, then it would be impacting 73 lakh crores of rupees onto the economy, and that will constitute 33%. So this analysis is very important. This analysis is important. Why? This analysis is important because of the quantitative response. This kind of response has to be from the government of India. Quantitative response has to be from the government of India, just not pumping as they wish. It has to be quantitative and then based on the IO model, because when it is on the IO model, the government will have a clear understanding about which sector is being hit badly and what will be the immediate cascading effect onto the other sector. And even in regards to the OECD, that is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, has also suggested that India would go ahead with a loss of 20% of its GDP. So if you look at the authors, what they have said is, if it is 47 days, it is coming up to 23%. Please look at this figure. If it is 47 days, then it is coming up to 23%. So if you take average as 40 days, 35 to 40 days working days are lost, then definitely whatever the OECD has come up with a report or suggested 20% loss of the GDP, which would be a very huge. And then this also showed us, if it is 47 days, then the mining sector, now we are looking into the mining sector because a lot of money also is from the mining sector. So 42% of it will be dropped of its contribution. And when we are looking at the electricity sector, 29% of fall in its contribution to the GDP will be reduced. And then when you compare it with all the sectors losses, then it will be very tough in regards to the wage compensation and the working capital whatever we have invested, and that will further lead to the supply and demand collapse. That is supply demand shock or demand supply shock, you call it as. So that will impact not only just in one sector, it will impact on the all the several sectors of the country or the nation. So that is the impact because of the COVID-19. So probably you may not have understood the impact, just we were thinking about the impact of the Indian economy. No, that is at a different level. You as a civil servant aspirant have to focus on number of days, lakhs of crores of rupees impact, percentage of impact on the GDP, on various sectors again, and then how it will impact the demand supply also. And then when we look at, there is impact on the agriculture sector also, that is primary sector. How? Because of the COVID-19, because of the social distancing, there is definitely the farmers or the laborers working in the farms should maintain the social distancing. As we all know that there is no work now, but the Rabi season is almost for the harvesting. So when it is successfully harvested, or it is under the successful harvest, what is important is we need to make sure that the labors are kept in, so that there will not be any kind of shortages, so that good amount of labors are being supplied, so that the Rabi or Rabi harvesting takes place. And we are not just worried about Rabi. Rabi is almost over. Now we should be worried about the next season, that is the Kharif season. So because of the pandemic, because of the national lockdown or total lockdown, we need to also look at the agricultural operations. This is very, very important. Agricultural operations are the one which are very, very important, and that is what we need to focus on now. And what are the ways forward? The ways forward are that the government has to compensate and pump cash not only into the hands of the wage workers, that is what we were talking about, the migrant workers, not only in the what you say informal sectors, but it should also be pumped into the hands of the workers who are working in the formal sectors. Now you are understanding about the intensity of the impact of COVID-19, not just on the unorganized sectors, not just on the informal sectors, but it has also started impacting the formal sectors, and that will also impact the livelihood activities, not only in the informal sectors but also in the formal sectors. So what is important is the measure or the way to move forward is to compensate or to pump cash. And then there has to be many businesses need to be informed with handouts, that is in the case of small enterprises, medium enterprises and large enterprises, there has to be informed that there has to be given concessions to the small, medium and larger enterprises, wherein the business activity should carry on. What is important at this juncture is the business activity to continue is very, very important, and that is the need of the hour or the way forward. How that will happen is only by making sure that there are various concessions, that is like tax concessions or a moratorium which has been taken up, wherein they can go ahead with 3 months of loans can be either given suspension or some kind of relief can be given to the business people who have taken loan. And the other one is redistributing expenditure, not incomes, redistributing expenditure, because it is what is pertaining to the expenditure is fiscal deficit. So how the redistribution of the expenditure, that is seeking to keep the fiscal deficit under control. How to make sure that it would be under control, not just pumping money, the liquidity into the market. Definitely when they keep on pumping money into the market, that will impact, or that is a worry to the fiscal deficit, and also it will impact on the inflation will rise. What is the other method? Redistributing of expenditure is, as the government has gone ahead with cutting back on the government salaries. So once the government salaries are cut, that means the inflation can be checked. At the same time, the fiscal deficit will not be as high as what the government has targeted to 3.5%. Please do understand this keyword or the preface. This is very, very important. It looks simple, but it is very, very important. And sometimes if you do not understand or the basics of this redistributing expenditure, how it will impact the fiscal deficit in a positive way, under control, this is important, because redistributing of expenditure is through not pumping money into the market, but also making sure that by cutting back on the government salaries, one thing, cutting back on the government salaries, but is everyone, all the government employees, when the salary is cut by some X percentage, because MPS have gone ahead with 30%, and if there is some kind of what is a 1 day salary or half a day salary has been cut, so some kind of what is a 10% of salary of the government employees, the salary is cut. Thereby what will happen is the money is not excess with the people, added to the liquidity pumping through the RBI, the finance ministry, and also by the government through the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan accounts. And this is one of it. What is the one of the measure to cut the fiscal deficit under control is the redistributing of expenditure. One point is by cutting down the government salaries, and the other one is making sure that the vulnerable sections are being provided not with the cash but by the essential commodities through public distribution scheme or public distribution system, PDS system. Thereby, once we do, the fiscal deficit is under control, and then inflation will also be under control. Please do understand, this is the logic. This is the analytical questions which will be asked in the prelims 2020 and also in the mains when they are asking the redistributing expenditure seeks to keep the fiscal deficit under control. Comment, discuss. That's it. And you need to go ahead with answering it. And ensuring the key role of state. So what is important is at this time, the role of the state is also very, very important, because what is or which comes into action is the role of state. The role of state is important. How does the role of state comes into action? That is by lifting up economy. That is by lifting up economy. So it is the responsibility of the government to lift the economy, and that is by making sure that there is investment by the state government. So we have looked at length in regards to the crude oil prices, Gulf countries economy, Iran's economy, and then impact on India's economy, remittances, and then again we have looked at the various methods or else the kind of qualitative response. This is very, very important. Please do understand, boys and girls, I mean the civil servant aspirant. The quantitative response by economist Vasily Leontief, that is the economic laureate 1973, is from Harvard University, and he has worked on the for the development of input output method for the important economic problems. So this is based on the production and the consumption. So if there is a question on the IO matrix from Vasily Leontief, that is, it is between the production and consumption, and he is a person economist. And we have also looked at the interlinkages of input output models and how it is having the linkage between the different sectors, and then it is taking into consideration of the wages, profits, savings, expenditure of each and every sector, and then it is directly impacting on the end consumer, that is the household. And then we have looked at the tabular, wherein each and every scenario, how many days the work lost, what will be the impact in lakh crores of rupees, and the percentage, 13 days, 20 days, 27 days, 47 days, 67 days we have looked at. And then the way it will impact the COVID-19 impact on mining sector, electricity sector. We have looked at even the agriculture sector, that is primary sector. And then the way forward, that is the measures we have looked at, that is pumping money into not just informal sectors but the formal sector, and then redistributing the expenditure to make sure that the fiscal deficit is under control, and then cutting back the government salaries, that is one of the method, and also by pumping or by supplying the essential commodities through the PDS system. And then the government has the responsibility to go ahead with the making sure that the states has the responsibility to pump the money into the. So I expect that the session was very important, informative, knowledgeable, and which is or which will be certainly useful for the prelims 2020 and mains 20, and for a better understanding, comprehensive understanding, and then analytical point of view. And then please do like the extremely sorry like the video, subscribe the video, hit the bell button when you're watching the Let's Crack UPSC English channel. And if you haven't still subscribed, please do subscribe for 24 months, as I've been repeating each and every session with my code SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, because you would get 10% discount. And please do try to inform to your friends about the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English channel, which they will all be benefited by my class and also by the other educators of Unacademy with various other courses. Thank you very much, and then see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And the next session is at 4:30. Sorry, extreme is 5:30 today, and then tomorrow at the 4 p.m. you will have the same editorials analysis.